We'll get started. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for YouTube now. All of this is just me sitting here waiting. It's one of those things you get ready to do a live stream and you're like, you're ready to go. I can't think I can knock this out in 10, 15 minutes. And then 45 minutes later, you're still trying to just get everything set up. And that's one of those things the listeners don't necessarily see, right? They're just like, oh, he did a broadcast. But to do that broadcast usually takes all of the time of gatherings. I mean, there's a lot before, during, and after that. Then an hour-long broadcast can actually be, 3-4 hours of your time. And yeah, one of those things I'm like, yeah, well, I could have a whole discussion there. You do wish listeners would understand and appreciate that. But at the same time, you really can't, you can't really blame people for not seeing that. They just see a notification on their device, they click play, they listen, and they're done, and they move on. All right, here we go. You can't really blame people. All right, turn off the live chat. Okay, that's good. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're doing okay here now. And I'm going to go to Sermon Audio. Maybe if I can get Sermon Audio to open. Then I'll go to the webcast section. There we are. Gentlemen. There we go. We've got that ready to go. I think we're set. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's try this. This should go really quick, hopefully very fast, and be somewhat beneficial. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further delay, we go live in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Looking at our world from a theological perspective, this is the Theology Central Podcast, making theology central.
Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, October the 29th, 2025. It is currently 11:41 a.m. Central Time, and I'm coming to you live from the Theology Central studio located right here in Abilene, Texas. Well, it's Man Wednesday. Do you feel that? It's Man Wednesday. Do I need to add a little bass to my voice? It's Man Wednesday. It's a Wednesday of masculinity. It's a Wednesday of messages directed towards men. No, ladies, don't leave. Look, this is going to be hopefully interesting and somewhat beneficial to everyone. I will explain. This is another episode in our ongoing series, The Sermon Audio Daily, where I turn on this microphone and try to tell you what's going on the Sermon Audio platform. That includes the Sermon Audio website, sermonaudio.com, and the Sermons by Sermon Audio app. Please download it now. And look, it's this giant library of content. I think a lot of it people miss, they don't see, they overlook, they take for granted. And I'm trying to turn on the microphone, trying to point you to the content to get you to go listen to it, download it, stream it, and hopefully learn from it, be challenged by it, be frustrated by it. But if it leads you to more study, then that's a wonderful thing, all right? So today, obviously, we're going to be dealing something with men. But before we get there, just a couple of quick notes. Note, it's October the 29th. That means Reformation Day is just around the corner. And obviously, in the Sermon Audio website, Reformation is the trending hashtag. Sermon after sermon is being uploaded dealing with the Reformation. Sermon Audio still has the whole story of Luther nailing the 95 Theses to the church door there in Wittenberg. Yeah, I was hoping my discussion about that would make them think, well, maybe we should describe this in a more historically accurate way. To me, as much as I, promote and want people to go to the Sermon Audio website, it just seems like if you're sending people to the Sermon Audio website and the first thing they see is Reformation and they have this description that may not be anywhere close to historically accurate, I think it just I just don't like that. I wish it was a little bit more accurate, but that's neither here nor there. Maybe they're convinced that is what actually took place. It just seems to be no historical evidence for it. But here, I guess that ultimately doesn't matter. What ultimately matters is on Sermon Audio right now, there's all kinds of things being uploaded about the Reformation. Please check that out. Listen to it, make the most of it, but be aware that it seems the common approach to talking about what actually happened on October the 31st, 1517, tends to be a little bit more myth and legend than historically accurate, which is a little troublesome and from my perspective, at least within Christendom, right? Put away lying, speak the truth, right? We want to be accurate. So I don't know, but it's there, so make the most of it. So that's going on. I have not been looking around. I probably need to look to maybe this afternoon, this evening, or tomorrow. I'm assuming somewhere on Sermon Audio right now, there's messages being uploaded about this satanic Halloween and that type of message. I'm assuming because usually within, you get close to October 31st, I guess you really have three approaches, right? I think the church, there's about three approaches most churches have to October the 31st. One, it's satanic, it's evil, Halloween is evil, don't do anything. And they're they want to talk about the satanic connection to Halloween. That's one approach. The second approach is, now sometimes what bothers me about the first approach is while they're yelling and screaming about how satanic Halloween is, their churches do what they call trunk or treat or fall festivals. And it's like, you're celebrating Halloween. Okay. You can say, no, we're not. Halloween is satanic. We're going to church and handing out candy and dressing up in, as biblical characters because we're celebrating the fall. We're celebrating the harvest. Give me a break. You're celebrating Halloween. You can dress it up all you want. It's still Halloween. Okay. Stop it. I can't stand when churches do that. We're not doing Halloween. We're doing fall festival. It's Halloween. Okay. Call it by any name you want. You're dressing up. You're handing out candy. You're playing games. It's Halloween. All right. Oh, I can't stand when I drive by a church. Come to our fall festival. You mean your Halloween celebration? Right? Okay. So, okay. So you got the it's evil, but come to our fall festival. Then you've got the second approach, which is, well, we're not going to call it evil. We're not going to get involved in the controversy, but come to our fall festival, okay? Because all the churches have to do some kind of fun food and activity for Halloween, whatever. And then you got the third, which is strong. It's Reformation Day. It's not Halloween, it's Reformation Day. And they go all in about church history, which I strongly applaud the third approach. I love making it about the Reformation instead of making it about Halloween. I love using it as an opportunity to teach church history. What can bother me is how inaccurate the history can be, so... Yeah, those are kind of the three approaches. On Sermon Audio, you don't see a lot of unless you're watching the live webcast and they have on the screen announcements for their church, and you'll see Fall Festival, come to our Fall Festival. There's a church right down the street from me. They have like a big pumpkin. I don't know what it is. There's just thousands of pumpkins right there in front of the church. But it's not Halloween. It's I don't know what it is. All right. So that's kind of what you get. So just be paying attention to that and make the most of all of it. If the church is yelling about Halloween being satanic, listen to it. If a church is promoting or justifying hey, it's not Halloween, it's a fall festival, listen to it. And if they're going full in with the Reformation, listen to it. Because it gives you a snapshot of what's going on in churches across America in October. All right. So definitely take a look at that. But what we're going to do is we're not going to look at any of those things. We're going to go where a listener is sending us. A listener sent me two emails both with a link to a sermon from Sermon Audio. All right. And they gave a little bit of brief commentary about each. I'll just briefly mention, there's just two messages, so this is going to be very simple, very quick. I'm going to point you to both messages, so if you have the Sermon Audio website open or the Sermon Audio app, this was a great time to have it ready because I can point you to each one. The first one is entitled, let me find it here, Men's Summit 2025. See, this is one we're calling it Man Wednesday. Men's Summit 2025, Session 3. Men's Summit 2025, Session 3. It's from a series entitled Men's Summit 2025. So they didn't bother to do anything creative here. Okay. Hey, we're going to call each message Men's Summit. We're going to session 1, 2, 3, 4. And the name of the series, we're going to call it Men's Summit, but it's Men's Summit 2025. There's no creativity here. It's just very straightforward. The speaker is Andrew Farrell, and the church is Faith Community Church. Faith Community Church. It currently has 24 downloads and streams. Probably what's hurting it is it's just called Men's Summit 2025. There's no description here. There's no description. I don't even know what it's about. There's nothing. It just says Men's Summit 2025. So I know it's obviously a summit for men, and I'm assuming it's addressing something related to men. Now, if you're a lady, if you're a woman, if you're going, well, why am I listening to this? Well, because maybe you want to hear what the church is saying to men. And you may listen and go, no wonder my husband is so messed up. Okay. No wonder my son is broken. Okay. What the church says to men is a little bit disturbing. I don't know. You can draw your own conclusion. It's the reason I love listening to youth conferences. Because a lot of times I listen, I'm like, no wonder church kids are absolutely messed up. What the church says to teenagers sometimes, I'm utterly appalled by. I'm like, what is this nonsense? Okay, so ladies, listen, and you can determine if what they're saying to men is a good thing, is a negative thing, positive. You can draw your own conclusion, and then as a man, you can be like, yeah, this is good, or what. But it's a man's summit, all right? And again, it is called Men's Summit 2025, Session 3, that's the one you want. Session 3, it's from the series Men's Summit 2025. The speaker, Andrew Farrell. The church, Faith Community Church, currently has 24 downloads. Yeah. Now, one of the things I'm trying not to monitor the numbers too closely, because that is going to ultimately show me the impact of this series. I don't feel like we've had much of an impact so far, but I said I'm going to try to give this to the end of 2025 to see how well this series is working. I don't know. I don't know if I can get people to go listen and download things, but I'm trying not to pay close attention. As I move into November and December, I'll start watching. And if the numbers are just nothing is happening, I'm not getting feedback from this series, then I'm just going to be like, okay, well, I tried, the end, move on. But we will see. I still think what we're trying to do here is of value, right? Giant library, things are covered in dust. I got to get people to go through the door and go check out some things, all right? Because I don't want those. I hate when messages are like this one has 24 downloads, right? It's going to get buried quickly. I mean, this was uploaded on October the 18th. Today is the 29th. It's going to get buried. It's already buried, probably. So it's going to, and who's going to find a sermon entitled Men's Summit 2025? Who's going to be on Sermon Audio doing a search for Men's Summit 2025? There's not even a scripture text. So the way they have uploaded this is almost, they've made it invisible. So they need to upload it. Now, the reason I'm sharing this is a listener, he sent me an email and he said this about this message. Despite the low-key title, this presentation works on several different levels: personal reformation, law, and gospel. Whoa, law and gospel. Now that got my attention. something this interesting gets buried because they don't even try to make it interesting. A more engaging title like Cultivate Yourself and any kind of description or outline would help. No wonder it has 23 plays. And that's very true. It's going to get buried. So this is the very kind of content I want to highlight for the Sermon Audio Daily. So I'm very appreciative this listener took the time to send it to me because he just made it very simple. So there you go. Go listen to it. The link will be in the show notes. And for everyone else, if you have the Sermon Audio app, it's very simple. Just open up the Sermon Audio app, type in Men's Summit 2025 Session 3. Now, if you want to listen to the entire Men's Summit, just look for the series, Men's Summit 2025. You can listen to the entire series. Again, Faith Community Church. It's 50 minutes and 3 seconds long, so it will take a little bit of your time. But at least give it listen to the first 30 minutes. You should be able to at least get the main idea. But if possible, listen to all of it. All right? You got it? Ready for the second one? All right. The second one, the email is not as it's not as positive about this one, all right? The second one is entitled Sexual Addiction 5 Pain Lab Remastered. That's the entire title, all right? So, Sexual Addiction 5 Pain Lab. I don't know what Pain Lab is. I'm not familiar with Pain Lab. Sexual Addiction 5 Pain Lab. This is from the series Christian Life. The speaker is Jim Wilder, and this is from Biblical Restoration Ministries. Biblical Restoration Ministries. Now, it only has 25 downloads. I'm a little surprised by that. Well, it was uploaded October the 24th, so it's still relatively new. And the only reason is typically if you put anything about sex or porn or sexual addiction or freedom from pornography, usually those numbers are very good, and which seems to indicate to me on all the years I've been broadcasting is that there's a lot. And typically what will happen if I do any kind of broadcast about sexual addiction, porn addiction, or offer any resources about pornography, usually I will get a lot of emails from men wanting the content and, well, in some cases expressing their struggles with that area. So there's a lot of Christian men sitting in every pew that struggles with a lot of sexual things. And that's sometimes the church doesn't want to acknowledge that. And that's a whole, I think, and the church's approach to fixing it in many cases, I think, are majorly problematic. But okay, we could get into a whole discussion. But Sexual Addiction 5, Pain Lab, Jim Wilder, Biblical Restoration Ministries, right? This one is 1 hour and 32 minutes. It's from some type of conference. And, well, you should check it out. Now, the person who sent me the email about this, he had some strong words about this. He said he fed all the transcripts of the 5 parts of this series into AI to get a quick overview of his sources and the explanation of addiction he teaches. He says it's absolutely nuts. that was his determination. It was absolutely nuts. And he says some things, I guess he's kind of unaware of some of the things he says of like, wait, are you really saying that? Because it can be seen as just like, what? Like, what are you thinking this through? But you can go listen for yourself. And oh, wait, Breakpoint. That Breakpoint is not on Sermon Audio. I know I'm interrupting myself, but I just told you that how the different people, how churches approach Halloween or October 31st and the different approaches. I started this way. I know I'll get back to this. I just got interrupted, but I just got a notification from the Breakpoint podcast. Now, it's not on Sermon Audio, but the Breakpoint podcast. And the title of it today is Should Christians Celebrate Halloween? I knew I would start seeing those messages on Christian sites. I knew I would. So you're going to get, hey, don't celebrate Halloween, but you can go to your church fall festival, which is Halloween. Okay. Oh, just don't even get me started. Why don't you do the fall festival in, I don't know, November the 15th, right? November the 20th, right? All right. But you do it for some weird reason right around Halloween. All right. So back to this. So I'm distracting myself. All right. So a listener emailed me a link to this message. The message is entitled Sexual Addiction 5 Pain Lab Remastered. The series is Christian Life. The speaker is Jim Wilder, and this is from Biblical Restoration Ministries. All right. The emailer said, and it just makes me laugh, he says he fed the transcript of all 5 parts into these to AI to get a quick overview of his sources and the explanation of addiction he teaches. It's absolutely nuts. Now, you may agree with the listener, you may disagree with the listener. That's why we do this. We go through the library, we check things out. We may agree, we may disagree. We listened to a sermon on Psalm 91 the other day, and I did a review on it, and I lost my ever-living mind, right? And it can be, you may ask, well, if sermons are going to drive you absolutely crazy and they're going to make you lose your mind, you're going to disagree, why listen? Well, look what that turned into. This horrible sermon on Psalm 91 is now leading to me doing a series on Psalm 91. So we're going to take Psalm 91, at least verse 1, apart exegetically. We're going to look at a lot of different things. It will ultimately lead to more study. Sometimes it's the bad sermons that lead me to deeper study than the good ones. So that's why we listen. You listen because it gives you insight in what's going on in Christianity. Like in this case, it's going to tell you how the church is approaching sexual addiction. Do you agree or disagree? You may completely agree. 5 other people may completely disagree. But whether you agree or disagree, it's giving you insight. Listening to the Men's Summit, that first message I gave you, it's going to tell you how the church is addressing men. This is going to tell you how the church is addressing sexual addiction. If we listen to a youth conference, it's showing you how the church is addressing youth. If we listen to a women's conference, it's showing how the church addresses women. It gives you insight to what the church is thinking today at this time. And that is beneficial and gives you insight, right? So the 2 messages are, number 1, the first one is called Men's Summit 2025 Session 3. That's the one you want to look to, Session 3. And the emailer who emailed me this had positive things to say about this one. Says it has, I guess, some proper or good discussion, law, gospel, or has a good law, gospel distinction. Personal reformation. So it sounds pretty good. So check it out. Again, it's going to get buried because it's called Men's Summit 2025 Session 3. It's a part of a series entitled Men's Summit 2025. Oh, and there's no description or text of scripture, right? I just got another notification from another Christian podcast about, do haunted houses really exist? Okay, so all of the Christian podcasts today are going all in with the Halloween theme. Okay, all right, so Men's Summit 2025, and then the other one is called Sexual Addiction 5 Pain Lab. What is Pain Lab? I don't know. The emailer, what he said, when I saw Pain Lab in the new sermon list, I absolutely had to click. He's obviously more familiar with Pain Lab than I am. I have no idea what Pain Lab is. I don't know what is it like a cool title like Pain Lab? Like, come into my lab and it may be painful, but it'll be beneficial. I don't know I don't know what Pain Lab is. So, I may have to do a little research into that. But he was excited to see them in the sermon list. So there you go. So we'll go experience a little bit of Pain Lab as they talk about sexual addiction, and you can see whether you agree or not. We'll visit a men's conference, Men's Summit 2025. So we'll visit 2 conferences, I guess one on sexual addiction, one on a men's summit. I don't know what it's about. And we'll see. So, ladies, you may determine that you may determine that men are really messed up, and now you know why. And men, I don't know what you'll think, but go listen. All right. There you go. Both messages will be listed in the show notes. All right. There was a lot. I know I kept interrupting myself, but I'm getting all of these notifications. All the Christian podcasts today are all about Halloween. All right. So I knew it was coming. I don't know if it's going to reflect on sermon audio, but you can look for that as well. So I told you what to be looking for in sermon audio, kind of telling you what's going on. I gave you 2 messages, and that concludes today's episode of the Sermon Audio Daily Podcast series, where I turn on the microphone to tell you what to go listen to on sermon audio. And as I always say, I sometimes want to say happy listening, but listening to messages and sermons are not really about being happy. It's hopefully it will be beneficial, and that benefit can come from sermons you agree with. And sometimes the greatest benefit is coming from sermons you disagree with. But go listen, download, stream, and make the most of the largest sermon library on the internet, sermonaudio.com. Thanks for listening. Everyone have a great day. God bless.